I am the disabled guy with the disabled life. So, this podcast is going to be about some disabled issues, a little bit about my life, but more of current events, sports, and those type of things, and things that are of interest to the disabled community. Like, let's say, let's talk about something. Example: ADA, those type of things like that. Things that affect the community is something that's important to me, and some current events where I will pick a news story that I know it will affect the disabled community, and I will tell you how I feel about it. A lot of this podcast is going to turn into how I feel about what's going on in this world, always from the perspective of a disabled individual and disabled person. Once again, what I call myself is a disabled guy. The podcast name is The Disabled Life. Thank you, Kristen, for joining me on my podcast this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, my name is Kristen, and I was born with a rare form of muscular dystrophy. It affects my strength, my balance, my breathing, and my endurance. And I was born with it, and it is a slowly progressive disease that I've learned to live with and manage to the best of my ability.
Okay. Is it what type? What is it called? If you don't mind.
It is called congenital myopathy with SEPN1 abnormality.
Okay, because I thought it was something else that I watch a YouTuber by the name I watch a YouTuber and he has another type. I thought it was that type. Okay, tell me about uh, what do you do when it comes to trips and things of that nature?
With in terms of what?
When you travel, what do you do? How do you deal with it?
Yeah, so I travel quite a bit, and I know I've got to pace myself because of my endurance problems. I know that I have to travel with someone because of my strength issues and things like that. So I've kind of learned how to adapt to things that I still want to do, like travel, and just do it a little differently. So I know that if I overplan or overschedule myself, I am going to my body's going to shut down and not cooperate. So I try to balance having rest days with more active days when I travel and things like that to make the most out of my experience.
Okay, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have cerebral palsy. Are you familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there are many versions, many types of that. My type is a little bit less severe than others. I walk with a walker, right? I walk with a walker, and I also I use a wheelchair for distance. I do not like to use a wheelchair in restaurants because in restaurants they say it's ADA accessible, but it is not. You told me that you had a blog, um, a travel blog. How did that start?
So it started because I mentioned before my disability is progressive, and
Excuse me. Sorry.
27 in 2017, my disability worsened quite a bit, and that's when I went on the ventilator, and that's when I had a lot of strength issues, and I had to start using the wheelchair more and more. I do have some mobility like you, so I can walk with a cane and other mobility devices for short distances.
Right.
So I was looking online to see how people travel with wheelchairs or on ventilators, and I just wasn't finding a lot of information. There was nothing that I could look to see how it was done. And so once my health stabilized, it's something that I wanted to change because I knew that there must be other people out there like me, but I couldn't find them. So I wanted to create my blog in order to show people that you can travel with mobility issues, you can travel on a ventilator, and I'm going to show them how they can do that so they don't feel quite as overwhelmed or, sad that they can't do something that they love.
Where have you traveled to, just for my information?
So I've been to 20 different countries on 4 continents, including Antarctica. So I've done a lot of European travel. I've done a lot within the United States. I've done some South America travel. And then, like I mentioned, Antarctica as well.
How do you like South America travel? Because I'm in a unique position of my mom was from Costa Rica, so we traveled there often before their version of the ADA.
So I have not been to Costa Rica yet. It's on my bucket
Yeah, I know.
list. But the rest of South America, it does have challenges. There's not always curb cuts. So when I'm in my wheelchair, it's hard to get from one side of the sidewalk to the other, like crossing streets. There's not always accessible buildings and places to eat. So I try to stick to the larger cities when I do travel to South America. And then I actually am going to be back in South America at the end of March. I'll be in Peru. So I'm actually using an accessible travel company so that they can help me navigate all the challenges that there may be.
Okay, let me talk to you a little bit about Costa Rica because I personally know about Costa Rica. When I first started traveling to Costa Rica with my family, my mom and dad, there was an accessibility. There were a lot of accessibility issues, but they have a version of ADA in Costa Rica. It is not as intensive as it is here, but there is this. You know what I mean? So you do have wheelchair accessible taxis. You do have transfer wheel uh, the things I don't know what they call them. The things that you get into with when they put you on a plane. They have
The
those.
aisle wheelchairs?
Yes, they have those aisle chairs. One time I went there and the attendant was taking so long, right? So I asked because I'm familiar. I kind of think out of the box, right? So you know what? Let me ask you this. Do you know what a term for airplane is?
I'm not sure what I know what you mean.
What a turn is, for example, when they okay is okay. I'll use this trip as an example. My dad and I left this trip at 7 a. I think the time was 7 a.m. board, right? So they flew to Costa Rica. They were gonna be back in the U.S. by 4 p.m.
Hmm.
So that's called a turn. They don't.
Okay.
They turn around.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing about this turn, I asked the flight attendants, "Do you have an aisle chair in your plane?" Because a lot of those countries don't have it. He said, "Yes." I said, "I can do the transfer myself. Bring it out. I will do." And I got off the plane. My dad and I got off the plane, and we did it all ourselves. Actually, we saw the guy that was supposed to pick me up off the plane, and they told him you're not needed anymore because I was able to think out of the box there. Um, so what abilities? So do you pay? Do you get a discount or anything for these planes or these trips?
So I do a lot of my own
Sorry.
travel, which I've been working towards that more because of my blog. I may try to exchange, like a discount or a service and for like advertising on my blog. I haven't done a lot of that yet. And then I also organize small group tours. And when I organize those, I get a discount or a free trip because I'm bringing people with me. But there's a lot of planning and organization and work involved. So I wouldn't say it's totally free because I put a lot of work and energy
Right.
into making sure the trip is, good for everyone.
Right. Let me ask you this: if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to. But do you have a caregiver?
Yeah, so I live with my parents
Mm-hmm.
for medical reasons, and
Right.
then I travel either with my parents or with a friend of mine that can assist me when I need it. So there's a lot of things I'm independent with. I can dress myself and, do my own feeding and, things like that. But
Right.
there are things I need assistance with, and that my caregiver, my friend, assists me with.
Yeah. Like for example, with me, I can dress myself, but it's faster. So if I'm in a hurry, I ask for help.
Hmm.
My shoes, I actually need help with. You see where I'm going with this?
Yep.
I'm open with this stuff because, okay, the reason I started this so you know, right? And if you want to talk to your anybody, if you want to talk to anybody, I'll definitely send you a link of this podcast. I was Did you get my iPhone number?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So send me a message to that my computer,
Hmm.
and I will definitely when this comes up. I do know. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly when this is coming up
Okay.
because today I had scheduled with you, and okay. Also, we live in do you understand? We live in a '70s house. The bathroom would not be considered accessible, so we had a tub. So we're changing that. So I thought, I'm sorry, I'm looking away. I just my microphone's in front of me here. So, so the guy says, "Oh, I'll be there Monday." So I said, "Bingo, Monday works." Cause I got an interview with Christian. He calls yesterday and tells me says Saturday. I'm like, "Oh Lord." Yeah. So I'm like, so I was nervous about missing this. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Honestly, was because I'm like, oh no, I made it. Oh, I'm gonna give you a little bit of interesting information. You're my first guest.
Okay.
No, yeah, I'm just letting you know that I don't know a lot about this. All I know is how to hook up my equipment. You know what I mean? So I'm being transparent. In order to check my audio, a friend of mine that's a fellow podcaster was sending me messages. Right? Oh, I'm also dyslexic, severely. So I don't type. I talk to it.
Hmm.
So as she was coming back to me, I said, thank you for coming back to me because you're giving me the opportunity to test my audio. Because if you see what I got on me, I got a pair of headphones, so I can listen to you and listen to my audio at the same time. So let me ask you this: do you have a service animal?
No, I don't have a support animal. No.
Do you feel that you need one?
Um. No. Not at this point in my life. I don't. I don't. I have because I live with others. They are able to assist me. And then the other adaptations I've made. I use the wheelchair and things like that. So I don't feel like I need one at this point.
No, I don't have one either because my limitations are not as severe. Let me ask you another question, if you don't mind. How about friendships and those things?
I have some really good friendships because I used to work full time in a regular job when I
Mm-hmm.
was younger. I've made a lot of friends through work
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
growing up, and I've kept in touch with them. And so I'm really lucky that I have some
Yeah.
really good friendships.
Let me go back to your travel blog a little bit. I know what inspired you to do it. Do you get any help from anybody?
In terms of the blog, no, I do that all on my own. So that's something that I learned when I decided to create the blog. I learned about how to create a website and how to be found on Google and things like that. So I did take a course, but other than that, I've done it all on my own.
Yeah. To talk back about me a little bit more, just so you know about me. Okay. I am okay. I volunteer for the Red Cross. I'm an amateur radio operator and also an accredited examiner for amateur radio, which means I go in there and I proctor exams. I can do that online, I can do that in person, depending on my choice. I mean, but during COVID, everything shut down. All my volunteer, I don't have a job, so all my volunteer opportunities shut down. I'm like, oh shoot, what do I do now? So I was, playing around with a tablet one day, and I found, I said, maybe a podcast because people need a voice. So I'm like, okay. So I started that, and another thing that I did is I changed my podcast a little bit to include this a little bit more. So let me ask you, have you ever thought of doing a podcast?
I've thought about it. It's not the right time because my plate is pretty full with the blog and with the small group tours I organize and things like that. So I don't want to overwhelm myself because I do have those problems with endurance and energy and things like that. So I really, as much as I would love to reach people in that way, I've got to make sure that I'm balancing helping others with my own health as well.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna say it's very easy to do. It's very, very, very easy to do. I have a MacBook Pro, a Zoom Pod Track before, a pair of headphones, and and a sh- and a and a and a professional microphone. So you see where I'm going with this. So it's not hard. It's just easy to do. And so let me ask you this: because this happens to me, when you go to doctors for the first time, is it hard for you to communicate with them before they get to know you?
I haven't. I mean, I go to the doctors, but I've been really lucky that I've had the same doctors for quite a while now. I haven't had that experience of being with a new physician for a reason. My doctors know me pretty well, and a lot of them I met when I was in the hospital. I was hospitalized for 6 weeks in 2017 because of issues related to my disability. So I really got to know them at that point when I was in the hospital.
The reason I ask you this is I'm gonna tell you a bit of a story. Um, I was okay. I like and I don't like telemedicine. I like it in a certain way because I don't have to do anything, just sit on the phone and deal with it. But when they don't see your face, it's a little difficult because you can't control the conversation if you need to. I had one guy that would ask me a question, ask me, and didn't let me answer. And it was an oncologist. It was important. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this guy, oh no. I had to take it to the extent of calling to say, I don't want to talk to that person no more. And I'm like, this guy, because it was just terrible. It was just not something I wanted to do. It was a radiation oncologist. That's why I ask you that, because I've had that experience. And I'm also, so um, I'm being checked for glaucoma. And I've also had the experience of people, doctors, thinking that we're cuckoo. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. And I'm sorry that you had that experience.
Right.
I've been really lucky with my doctors. When we do telehealth visits, we always use video so they can see my face.
Right.
And my primary physician even does house calls.
That's right.
So if I'm not able to go to his office, he'll come to my house if I need to.
Right. No. So what happened? So let me tell you this one. I went to an optometrist visit for the first time. They canceled. They postponed my visit and they moved it to another place. They didn't call me. So I went there with my family, and all of a sudden he goes, "Sorry, they moved your appointment to this other place." I wasn't happy because I had to get up at 8. No, I had to be somewhere at 8 in the morning. You follow?
Mhm.
But what I do in that case, what I do in that case is I will let my mom deal with it because I want them to get to know me before I start saying I don't like what's going on.
Mhm.
Because then I don't want them to think, oh, this disabled person is cuckoo. Obviously, no.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm gonna have you had, what about children and disability and experiences with that?
So I do not have children. And my brother has two kids, and my best friend has two kids that call me Aunt Kristen. So I interact with them. I've known them since they were born. I find children to be very curious and very accommodating once they understand, that there's some things that I just can't do
Uh
or
huh.
that I have to do differently. And they actually, will try to help me or they'll try to find creative ways to play with me that allow me to interact with them.
Right.
So it's been pretty good.
I have a niece. But that one day I'll tell you a quick one. I'll tell you another quick story. I was in the mall. My mom went to buy some shoes. So, I stayed outside the store, and all of a sudden, this teenager runs up to the kid that's touching my wheelchair, right? And pulls her away. And I said, "Excuse me, why did you do this?" Oh, because all of you are getting mad. I said, okay. In some cases, we get mad. But in other cases, I don't get mad because the kid is curious. And he's maybe 2 years old, maybe never seen a wheelchair before. I told her what's happening is you're experiencing people that that maybe had a back injury. They've been paralyzed as adults, and maybe they're not happy that they're in a wheelchair. I've known nothing but this. You see, that's why I asked that story because you know I've talked about that story in my podcast before, but I just wanted to get your perspective on it.
Yeah, I mean, I find kids to be very curious. They may stare a little bit, or they may just come out and ask me a question. I get a lot of questions not only about my wheelchair, but my ventilator and my trach. And so they'll ask, "What is that?" And I try to explain it to them in terms that they'll understand. I just say that I don't have strong muscles and it helps me breathe better. And then they're usually okay with that and they smile and, that's that. So it's been really good.
When I started going to Costa Rica, right? We weren't seen in Costa Rica because of all the accessibility barriers and stuff, and my family always got used to me. So I would go hang out with my cousins. We go to the store. All these things as I got older. My adult cousins would say, "Hey, you want to come hang out with me at night?" And I went with them a few times and whatever. But the story is, there was a kid. I used to wear braces from my hips, from here, right, all the way down. Normally, you put them in the bottom under your clothes, but they're hard to use to go to the bathroom.
Mm.
So my mom modified my clothes where I could put them over the top, so people were seeing them. So this kid says, "What are those hoses? Because they look like hoses. Like hoses covered. Like they cover the brace with hoses.
Mm-hmm.
It is a hose. They cover it with rubber, so it is a hose." So he asked me. I answered him. I saw him a couple of days later. Asked me the same question again. I answered it. The third time, I didn't answer it. I yelled at him. You know what? You know what? You know what the difference was?
Because he wasn't, he was asking not out of curiosity, but out of, either some other negative way is why he was asking.
Yeah, he was just trying to making fun of me.
Yeah.
So I realized that, and I go, no, 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 you don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I yelled at him in Spanish because I speak. Excuse me. Sorry, I have a cold. I speak Spanish as a second language. So if you hear me talk, you hear me talk like fluently. So yeah, it's one of those things where I have had the opportunity to ride horses, both on farms and on and at a program called Horses for the Handicapped. The difference between farm and horses for the handicapped, for example, is I would get on that. They would put me on a horse, and I would take the reins and walk them around. You see, that's what I really enjoyed. Not really going in a ring trying to teach me how to jump. I didn't want to do that.
Mm.
Let me ask you this question: have you ever had the opportunity to be like a spokesperson or anything for a disability?
Not for disability. I recently was asked to be a brand ambassador for a company that
Hmm.
wheelchairs. They wanted some publicity about the devices they make, and they wanted me to use them and have pictures of me using them so that other people would purchase their products. I turned that down, not because I'm against it,
Right.
but because they just didn't think it was the right fit,
Mm-hmm.
the right type of device that I would have needed. But yeah, I think the more that people can be seen uh, with a disability in ads and media, the better, because we can be better represented, and that way kids with disabilities can see that it's normal, that there's other adults, there's other people to look up to, and that they're not alone.
Yes. The reason I ask you this, leading to a story. In 1983, I was the poster child for Easter seals, but that was a very, very, very interesting experience, right? Okay. Let me ask you: do you follow college football?
A little bit.
Okay, I got the opportunity to meet Jim Kelly, the quarterback for the University of Miami, and I also got the opportunity to meet Howard Schnellenberger, their coach at that time, because they were also assisting us with the telethon. That was a very interesting experience because what they did is they needed somebody that spoke really well. There were kids that were getting stuck. Oh, and I also got the opportunity to meet Dolphin player Jimmy Cephalo. But I got to meet him on the stage, on the telethon stage. So he was hosting that local. So, so the first day I was a little nervous. I was tongue tied. So okay, what ended up happening? So is we took pictures. I did a bunch of promotional stuff. I still have a football that he gave me for a promotional picture. Just just to let my listeners know that that noise that they hear, that 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 air noise, that is your respirator, correct?
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't bother me. I just want to tell people what that is because that is an unusual noise. I'm not going to edit that noise out. That noise is going to stay in there. Let me go back to what I was. So what happened was, so I got picked, and I got picked. The first day I was a little bit tongue tied. They were going to give me cue cards the second night. They didn't have to do that. Because what I started to do is I started calling for donations. Nobody told me to do that. Um, the um, the host saw that I heard it and he just threw the mic in my face, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "All right, go with it." He just told me, "Go with it." I mean, so I went with it for a while. But it was an interesting experience because I had just gotten because due to. Let me ask you a question. So as we talk, um, did you have a lot of surgeries when you were a child?
No, I wouldn't say a lot, but they happened all at the same time. So when I was younger, I would say when I was in the third grade, I got very sick with pneumonia,
Oh.
and I was hospitalized for 3.5 months
Mm-hmm.
because that's when they found out I had respiratory problems after the pneumonia, and then I had scoliosis and some other back problems. So I had to have my first trach put in when I was in third grade. I had to have my back fused because of my scoliosis, and then I had to be in traction because my neck had twisted. My head
Mm.
was tilted, and I couldn't straighten it. So I had to have uh, traction, which is basically a metal frame that goes around your head
Oh no.
um, that screws into your skull, and then there's a weight at the other, excuse me, at the other end to help try to straighten out my neck. So those are the surgeries I had, but they all happened like within the same year.
Let me ask you this: how do you deal with transportation in the United States?
Um, I rely on my parents to take me where I need to go. I live in a rural area, so there's not a lot of public transportation available. I do still have my license, but I'm not able to drive myself because I can't lift my equipment and put it into the car.
Let me ask you: do you don't have you don't have like public like a modified transportation?
No, because I still have some mobility. I can walk short distances. So I can, I can stand with assistance and then sit in a car. And then the wheelchair I use is folds and then goes in the trunk. So right now I use regular transportation, but I can't climb stairs. So even if we had like a public bus system, which we don't, I wouldn't be able to use that on my own unless it
Right.
had a wheelchair lift.
Right. We have something called paratransit. Right.
In some areas, not where I live.
Yeah. In the county where I live, we have it. So here's the error. Here's a crazy ironic part. I can get into any car. I get into my mom's small SUV, my dad's small vehicle. A friend of mine's big truck with some help. He pushes me inside the seat. I'm done. I'm in the truck. Take my walker with him. Actually, to tell a story. He has a walker in his garage. So if he has to pick me up from somewhere that we were, I simply say, I text him and say, friendly reminder, remember to throw the walker in your truck. Because all I need that for is to get up. To get up so you can help me get in the seat. I'm done. So, so the ironic part is the drivers they don't want to transport wheelchairs in a regular vehicle. So I need to be called lift fan only because of why? Not because I need this, but because their rule says, you know what I mean? Their rule says, no. So I have to deal with all kinds of strap down problems and all kinds of stuff just because they decide that they don't want to do that. One thing that I'm going to tell you, the service has gotten worse instead of better. Now they want, just so you, I'm just telling you so you know what I'm going through as a person. Okay. Now they want to negotiate your pickup times. Right? I can't have them do that sometimes. Because if I have to go do exams or I have a meeting or a class at the Red Cross, I need to be there when? When I need to be there, not within 30 minutes, an hour. No. So now it's like, so when I do exams in the field, which I'm going to do next month, I have to be somewhere at 5 p.m. I have to leave here at 5 p.m. And they try to tell me, oh no, 5:30. No. Because you have to wait 30 minutes before you can call late. You see where I'm going with that?
Mm-hmm.
I got really mad because I go to a doctor in a far place my mom doesn't want to drive. So I use this transportation and they said, "Oh, in 4 minutes." Oh, 30 instead of 30, they put it 35. I said, "Oh, maybe we'll deal with it." I learned not to do that. You know why I learned not to do that? Because they were an hour late. We're stuck there an hour. And you know what makes me mad? I still have to pay them. It's something that I. The reason I tell you these stories is so you know where I'm coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's nice for you to talk about yourself, but it's also nice for you to know what I'm dealing with.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. Can I continue after we do the podcast? Can I continue to speak with you?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I continue. I can send you messages or whatever. Because it's interesting. I'm gonna give you an opportunity that when you come up with new trips, and if you want to announce them, let me know.
Well, thank you. That'd be great.
I'll be more than happy to talk about the trip. What's your next trip coming up?
Well, my next trip is Peru at the end of March. I'm going with some of my readers to that, and then I'll be traveling in June. I'll be traveling in September with my readers to South Africa, and then my next group trip that's open that I still have spots on is to Switzerland next year.
Oh, and let me go back to Costa Rica a little bit. A lot of the hotels and things are very accessible. I'll tell you a quick story. I went down on that trip that I was telling you when I went with my dad. Okay, I went down because my grandmother was sick and I wanted to see her before she passed. Which she didn't pass, but I wanted to see her.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed not with them. I stayed with our friends. We stayed with our friends because we didn't want my grandmother to help her work or anything because she couldn't. So they were doing an event because they have a factory down there, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
took us to an event, and the hotel we stayed at, the accessible room had never been used. I was the first one to use it.
Wow.
I found this out from the owner. So I'll tell you this story quickly. Okay, so we went to the bar. Went to the bar to get a drink. You know what I mean? Two
Mm-hmm.
adults do that.
Yep.
I don't know if you do drink, but I do. So
uh, yeah.
so we go there and we start talking and I order pina colada and the bartenders, it's a woman bartender, as I say bartenderess, she took a pineapple out of a fruit basket and started peeling it. I kind of felt bad, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To make a pina colada, one pina colada, you got to peel all this fruit. All of a sudden, the guy comes up to me. A guy comes up to me and starts talking to me. She freaks out. You know why she freaks out? Because it's the owner, the hotel owner,
Mm-hmm.
to ask me about the room. So I told him. I told the only problem that I saw was not in the room. It was actually in the bar. They didn't have enough accessible space. So I ended up sitting by one of the coffee makers. Because that was, it was low. So he says, well, why are you sitting here? I go, oh, because there's not accessible space. Oh, we'll move this and we'll make this part of the bar. Because physically it was. If I just put something there, I mean, they had to put a kitchen machine there.
Mm-hmm.
You see where I'm going with that?
Mm-hmm.
I've never had problems flying, right? Let me ask you: when you go on a plane, how do they work with you?
So I've had good and semi okay experiences. Luckily, my wheelchair has never been damaged. But sometimes people are overly helpful and
Right.
they start grabbing me without asking me how they can help
Yeah.
me, and isn't good. Sometimes how they think they're helping me actually makes it worse.
Right.
So I have to be very assertive
Yeah.
and say, okay, don't do that, or this is how I need you to
Yeah.
help.
Yeah.
They mean well, but they don't always know. Yeah, I've just learned to be very assertive and tell them exactly how I want them to help
Yeah.
me and things like that.
Let me tell you a story on this plane. Right. We're sitting on this plane. The transporter comes. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's one female, and I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. She's standing there next to me, not doing anything, not asking me any questions. And the crew is the flight attendants are looking at her like, well, get off, like get off this plane. What are you doing, right? So I said, excuse me, ma'am. Why are you standing around? What are we waiting for? Right?
Mm-hmm.
She says, oh, I need somebody to help me lift you. I can't lift you. I need a man. I said, excuse me, ma'am. I can do the transfer. Lift the arm, and I will gladly move over.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, oh, but you stood there for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me where because I travel with someone, they'll talk to my friend or
Oh,
my caregiver and not talk to me.
oh
And
no,
so I speak up and I say, hey, I'm right here. Please talk to me.
right?
And don't talk to them about me as if I wasn't there.
No, that's really rude.
Yeah,
Have you ever had that happen in a hospital?
no,
Okay, I'll tell you a story. I'm going back to my story. Okay, you know what a day surgery is, right?
yes,
Okay, so I'm there. I'm there. I sign all the papers, even though I don't read, but my family reads it to me, and I sign the paperwork. You know what that tells the people that work there?
right.
That I can decide, and I decide, right? So I'm like, I'm like, okay. So we all go back there, and if I would have gone with a girlfriend, which I don't have, or a friend, this issue would not have been. I'll tell you this. Ask my parents, does he know medical history?
Mm,
I'm like, I was right there.
yeah.
I'm right there, and I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, yes, I know. So I assertively told them yes. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I would just say if people want to know about, if they want to check out my blog or if they want to read about my travels or get more on accessible travel, they can check out my blog at worldonwheelsblog.com.
Okay, go ahead if you don't mind. Send me that link.
Worldonwheelsblog.com.
Right, what I'm asking you is send me that link because I'm dyslexic.
Yep,
If you could just drop me a link of my messages,
yep, I can do that.
and I'll be happy to take that, and I'll be happy to copy that down for you and put it in my show notes.
Thank you.
That's what the show notes are there for. I don't know if you ever listened to a podcast, but
Yes,
you see that. Yeah, we
yep.
um. Oh, one thing that I did. I thought that ADA was younger than I thought it was.
Mm. Yeah, the ADA is old in terms of accessibility standards. It really needs updating to
Right.
update with the times for sure.
No. As a matter of fact, I did an episode on it.
Mm.
As I was doing research, I learned so much myself.
Hmm.
What do you think about the ADA? Is the ADA something that's helpful to you or a hindrance?
I think it's helpful. I think without it, there'd be a lot of companies and businesses that wouldn't bother with accessibility, and I think we
Right.
would be even more limited than we already are. I just think it needs to be updated. I think the Airs Carriers Act needs to be updated because that's the act that covers plane travel. The ADA doesn't cover access on planes,
Right.
the Air Carriers Act, and so that needs to be
Yeah.
updated so we can have accessible bathrooms on planes, and have a little more freedom and accessibility there as well.
Right. Oh, I finally remember the guy's name. The one I saw on YouTube called Shane Burkoff.
Hmm.
Yeah. He says that he wants planes to have wheelchair that we can stay in a wheelchair.
Hmm.
But I honestly don't feel safe doing that.
Well, I would like people to have the option.
Right.
I get that not everyone's gonna be comfortable with
No.
that or would prefer a regular seat, but I think it would really reduce the amount of wheelchairs that are broken by the airlines if
Yeah.
we had that option.
Yeah. But the reason I don't like the option is sometimes I've had to stop the STS driver say, tighten my wheelchair. I've had to say that
Mm,
because it's moved all around. Do you think I want that on a plane? You see,
yeah.
you see where I'm going with that?
Yep.
I'd rather sit in a seat. It's not because I want to act like a regular person. It's because I'm not. I feel safer in there.
Right. Well, and I think if you, I think there's benefits for having people be able to stay in their own wheelchairs on a plane, but I don't think that should be mandatory. I think that should be someone's individual choice of whatever makes them the most comfortable.
Right? No, no. Yeah, it's like, for example, I don't like going on. I don't like. Um, just so you know, I don't like the fact that I have to stay in my wheelchair in an STS vehicle
Hmm.
because sometimes the shoulder belt pops off or they don't use it,
Right.
and that can be dangerous.
Right.
So I don't, I would love it if they would let me stay go in a seat of a car.
Right.
Because what I'll do, I'll put my seatbelt on. So you see where I'm going with this?
Yep.
Yeah. At this point, I think I'm gonna end the podcast.
Okay.
Thank you for thank you for taking your time to come out with me.
Thank you for having me.
Once again, thank you, Christian, and once again, thank you for listening to my episodes. I am the disabled guy with the disabled life.
Okay.
So let me tell you where you can listen to me. You can listen to me on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, many others, and you can also leave comments, messages there on Apple Podcast
Um,
and on
all my
Spotify
life. Yeah.
and on Spotify and on Good Pods. Those are the places you can leave messages for me. And if I decide to put the link in, you can also leave messages. If you are a Spotify account holder, you can also leave a
Thank
message
you.
with us on that, and I'll be happy to put those in. Now, um, also, one thing you can do is follow me on Twitter. I'm gonna become. I'm gonna be a lot more active on Twitter, and maybe a few other social media spots. With that, thank you for listening. My episodes are gonna come out Saturday and Wednesday, both 10 p.m. Either 10 Eastern or 10 Daylight Savings Time, depending on when the episodes are recorded, the time of year. Once again, thank you for listening.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Calendar. Open exams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then when we get off the video chat, I will send you the link to my website as well. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. It was nice meeting you. Yeah.